The world froze on August 13, 2025, as news broke. US and Chinese warships in a tense standoff at Scarborough Shoal. The South China Sea, usually alive with fishermen, was now a stage for superpower brinkmanship. Filipino fishermen working ancestral waters watched as gray Chinese warships appeared on the horizon. The USS Higgins, a US Navy destroyer, was on patrol, upholding freedom of navigation. China saw it as an intrusion and their warships moved to intercept. The ocean's hum gave way to a silence heavy with risk. The world watched, waiting for a single misstep. This was no simulation. This was the real thing. The stakes piece in the Indo-Pacific, the lives of sailors and fishermen, and the fragile balance of power. The shoal, barely visible at high tide, had become the world's most dangerous flashpoint. Social media and official channels buzzed with fragmented reports. The USS Higgins, operating in international waters, was suddenly surrounded. Chinese ships closed in, their intentions unmistakable. The confrontation was a test of wills, diplomacy, or disaster. Filipino fishermen, caught in the middle, faced uncertainty and fear. The world's eyes were fixed on Scarborough Shoal, waiting for the next move. Would restraint hold, or would the region plunge into chaos? The future of the Indo-Pacific hung in the balance. The standoff had begun. Morning calm shattered as the USS Higgins detected multiple fast-moving Chinese warships. A Type 052D destroyer led the Chinese formation, flanked by corvettes, closing in to form a menacing cordon. The radio crackled. "American warship, you are in Chinese territorial waters, leave immediately." Commander Eva Rostova of the Higgins replied, "Steady. We are conducting lawful operations in international waters. We will maintain course." The exchange was tense, a verbal duel before the physical chess match. Chinese ships pressed closer, one aggressively shouldering across the Higgins's bow. A collision would be catastrophic. Every move was calculated. The Higgins's crew snapped to their stations, disciplined and alert. The Chinese ships were now within weapons range, missile hatches visible. The Higgins's greatest asset was not its missiles, but the discipline of its crew and the calm of its commander. The goal: stand firm, avoid provocation, and show resolve. The world watched, waiting to see who would blink first. The standoff was a high-stakes game of nerves. The US Navy's professionalism was on display. No rash moves, just steady resolve. The Chinese ships circled, testing boundaries. The Higgins held its ground, refusing to be bullied out of international waters. The tension was electric, every second a potential spark. The confrontation was more than a naval encounter, it was a message to the world. The Indo-Pacific's future was being decided in real time. The crew's training and unity were their shield. The standoff was a test of discipline, not just firepower. The world's superpowers were locked in a silent struggle. The next move could change everything. The Higgins stood ready, the world held its breath. While warships faced off, Filipino fishermen were trapped in a nightmare. Chinese Coast Guard cutters, massive and intimidating, descended on the small wooden boats. The fishermen, armed only with nets and hope, faced water cannons and dangerous wakes. Boats rocked violently, windows shattered under the force of water jets. Fear and defiance mixed on the fishermen's faces. They'd seen aggression before, but never with stakes this high. Carlos, a fisherman, watched as a cutter targeted his friend's boat, blasting it with water and nearly capsizing it. The fishermen shouted, trying to save their catch and their lives. They were civilians, caught in a conflict not of their making. Their only crime: fishing in waters recognized as theirs by international law. The Chinese Coast Guard acted with impunity, violating basic decency and maritime norms. The USS Higgins, standing off against the Chinese Navy, bore silent witness to their plight. This was the human face of the dispute, real people, real suffering. The confrontation was about more than ships and sovereignty. It was about protecting the vulnerable from the strong. The fishermen's struggle was a stark reminder of what was truly at stake. The world could not look away. The USS Higgins was more than a warship. It was a symbol of American resolve. Armed with advanced missiles and the Aegis combat system, it was a floating fortress. But its true strength lay in its crew, over 300 sailors, trained for moments like this. As Chinese ships maneuvered aggressively, the Higgins's crew stayed focused and disciplined. Commander Rostova led with calm authority, balancing strength with restraint. Every decision was calculated, every move deliberate. The ship avoided escalation. No fire control radar locked, no aggressive posturing. Instead, it held its ground, a steel sentinel in contested waters. The message was clear. We are here. We have the right to be here. We are not leaving. Controlled power, not threats. defined the U.S. Navy's presence. The Higgins' professionalism was more intimidating than any weapon. The world saw a Navy in control, not a force looking for a fight. The crew's discipline was their greatest weapon. The standoff was a test of nerves, not just technology. The Higgins stood as a silent, powerful statement. American resolve was unmistakable. Hours dragged on as the sun beat down, turning the standoff into a psychological battle. Chinese ships shadowed the Higgins, pressing close, trying to provoke a mistake. The American crew stayed alert, every move watched, every action recorded. Commander Rostova's strategy, active restraint, de-escalate but never yield. Communications broadcast peaceful intentions. Every Chinese move was documented. The Higgins' surveillance systems captured it all, building a case for the world to see. This was gray zone warfare, conflict without shots fired, but with everything at stake. China sought to make the sea too dangerous for others. The US pushed back, defending international waters. The Higgins embodied that pushback, holding the line under relentless pressure. Absorbing provocation without flinching was a victory in itself. The crew's resolve was a testament to military strength. The standoff was a modern battle of wills. The world watched, learning what true deterrence looks like. Scarborough Shoal, tiny, remote, but of immense strategic value. It commands access to Manila and Subic Bay, making it a critical outpost. In 2016, an international tribunal ruled against China's sweeping claims, affirming Filipino fishing rights. China rejected the ruling, doubling down with force. The shoal became a symbol of law versus power. For the Philippines, it's sovereignty and survival. For China, a step toward regional dominance. For the US, it's a test of the rules-based order. The Higgins wasn't there to claim territory, but to defend the principle of free seas. The standoff was about more than rocks. It was about the future of global governance. Beyond strategy, the crisis devastated Filipino fishermen. Scarborough Shoal was their lifeline. Now, it was a source of fear. Chinese aggression meant lost income, smaller catches, and shattered livelihoods. Many fishermen faced intimidation, violence, and humiliation in their own waters. Some gave up fishing entirely, their futures stolen by a conflict beyond their control. Stories of confiscated catches and terrifying encounters became common. The psychological toll was immense. Every trip was a risk. The world's headlines missed the human suffering at the heart of the dispute. International law exists to protect people like these fishermen. Their struggle is a reminder. The fight for free seas is also a fight for justice and dignity. The stakes are deeply personal. The Scarborough Shoal crisis tested more than US-China relations. It tested alliances and the rule of law. The Philippines, America's oldest Asian ally, watched closely. The US-Philippines alliance was thrust into the spotlight, with both nations coordinating responses. The Higgins' firm stance reassured allies across the region. America's commitments are real. Without this resolve, smaller nations might yield to Chinese pressure. The standoff also challenged the foundations of international law. China, a signatory to UNCLOS, ignored the 2016 ruling, undermining the rules-based order. The US presence was crucial, defending the rights of all nations to free seas. The world faced a choice: shared rules or the law of the jungle. America's actions were a vote for order and mutual respect. As dusk fell, Chinese warships slowly pulled back. The immediate crisis ended, but the conflict's roots remained. The USS Higgins had stood its ground, no shots fired, but resolve unbroken. The crew, exhausted yet vigilant, continued their watch. The message: America will not abandon its allies or the law. Professionalism and restraint are the heart of deterrence. The US Navy's presence signals that aggression will be met with steady resolve. The Higgins' patrol was a tangible symbol of commitment. Allies could count on the US, rivals saw clear limits. This presence isn't about seeking conflict, it's about preventing it. The long watch continues, protecting the sea lanes that bind the world. The Scarborough Shoal standoff was a test passed, but the mission endures. The watch never ends.